Good evening, and welcome to Colorado Inside Out Live. I'm your host, Peter Boyles from KHOW Radio. Tonight, a very special guest with us in studio. He started out in the music business, including bringing Led Zeppelin to the States, and eventually moved a successful career in the film industry, was Bette Midler's manager, and produced the movies The Rose, Trading Places, one of my all-time favorites. He received 6 Academy Award nominations, a Tony, an Emmy, and several Golden Globes. But now he's shifted to a more political role, and tonight he's here to discuss this film that's getting a lot of attention. It's entitled America, Freedom to Fascism. He's been with us on a radio show once before. We've never met, and we've been sitting in here talking. Aaron Russo is here. Thanks, man.
Nice to meet you.
You too. I mean, finally, we've been sitting here talking. He's going to be with us throughout the next hour taking your calls, but I'd like to set the film up, but we're going to take bits and pieces of the film. But we have a trailer for America, Freedom to Fascism. Before we begin, let's take a look.
What happens if your own government is using more force and more coercion on its own citizens for the purpose of achieving its political ends? Is that government engaged in terrorism?
American people expect us to protect them and protect their civil liberties. I'm going to do that.
What is being sold to the American people today as Americanism, if you peel off the label, you find so much similarity to what we were fighting against when we were fighting communism and Nazism and fascism.
The government's now putting a national ID card together.
We will be carrying our papers, and they have recommended there be checkpoints throughout the country. Some type of a physical proof, such as fingerprints or retinal prints, have to be on it.
Desires of the people really have no consequence. They go out and they vote. It doesn't make any difference which candidate they elect.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes. This is absolutely Orwellian. I mean, it's talking about Big Brother looking over your shoulder at absolutely everything we do.
There is no constitutional basis for a tax on the wages of Americans living and working in the 50 states of the Union. Period. End of argument.
If Americans just learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
You caught me unprepared.
I'll come back.
Well, I don't want to do that.
There had to be a law, right?
Where is the law? Show me the law.
Why is the Supreme Court decision a silly argument?
And I think we're finished.
They think it's the law, and they have all the guns. You know, it's an authoritarian approach.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
The latest technology for identifying people when they make purchases is actually the implantable chip that you can actually embed directly into human flesh.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? You will rule on that, mark my words.
A chip in everybody would be the universal monetary system par excellence, because there'd be no escape from it.
Americans have been taught to expect their salvation from government instead of recognizing government as the most dangerous threat they'll face in their lives.
It is the greatest hoax ever perpetrated by government against the working men and women of America.
It's organized crime. All you do is you call the Republicans the Genoveses, and you call the Democrats the Gambinos.
See the number on the screen. Let's get underway. 303-296-1253. What did you just see? How is this film being received? You're telling me across the country.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Standing ovations. You know, it's very rare to see a movie ever get a standing ovation. We're getting standing ovations everywhere we go. People are going crazy for this movie. They love it because, you know, there's something wrong in America. People know there's something wrong, and this movie identifies what the real problem is. You know, everybody's so polarized in America today. Red states and blue states, Republicans and Democrats, liberal, conservative, whites against blacks, you know, and Jews and Arabs. And it's not about that, you know, and the movie explains why we're having so many problems in America today on so many levels, and who's behind it, and how the Democrats and Republicans are both controlled by the same people. And it doesn't matter which one's in office.
You showed one of my favorites, Edward Griffith.
Yes.
And The Creature from Jekyll Island. We've had him on the radio show twice. It's a lengthy read.
He's a great man.
He's an amazing guy.
Yes, he is.
And for I'm sure many people know, or maybe they don't know, but the Federal Reserve Bank was created on a island off the coast of Georgia, Jekyll Island.
That's right.
Where prior to the income tax being brought into the country, these very powerful men meet, and they create the Federal Reserve.
Well, that's where it was conceived.
Right.
And it was actually approved by Congress during Christmas of 1913,
yeah.
when most senators were home with their families on Christmas vacation, you know, and it's totally illegal. It's totally against the Constitution. As a matter of fact, the Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of America, is one of the major planks of the Communist Manifesto.
Well, they were warned. I mean, Jefferson warns us, and they had watched national banks at work in Europe, and they had watched what was done during the rise of Napoleon, and they had watched what was called national banks, and Jefferson said, whatever you do, don't have a national bank.
Exactly. He did not want a central bank. He said something to the effect, if you ever allow the bankers to control the creation of currency in America, your children will end up homeless in the land their forefathers conquered.
Yeah,
you know, the banks are going to take over everything. I mean, the Federal Reserve is a private bank that the government in 1913 gave them the concession to make money for America. And when the government needs money now, they borrow it. See, here you have the government that has the legal authority to create money and not pay interest on it.
Right.
But when they created the Federal Reserve, they had now had to borrow money and pay interest on money, and that's why they imposed the income tax. They imposed a tax on your labor so you could pay interest to the bankers, right? It's incredible. People have no idea. And today the Federal Reserve is looked at as if it was this
great institution,
highly regarded, you know, prestigious. They're a bunch of criminals. They're a bunch of criminals. They've taken over our government. He who makes the money makes the rules. And because these guys make the money, it's the old golden rule.
Yeah.
And because these guys make the money, they control our government, both the Democrats and the Republicans. And it doesn't matter whether Hillary Clinton's in office or George Bush is in office, the same things are going to happen. There are minor differences, but essentially the same thing is going to happen.
I ask you this, and phones are already banked full, so we'll get to everybody. It's going to be a great show. When does it? I mean, the old, you know, the frog in the pot kind of analysis is always used.
Right.
But what do you say? I mean, people. I mean, there are historians that view this in sort of epochs and in moments, and then this happens, and then that happens, and then this happens. Where do you see our country today involved in 2 wars abroad? We were talking about every morning how much money is borrowed. We're talking about the role of the multinationals, the illegals in the country, Bush's seeming inabilities to do anything about either of those enormous, or all three of those enormous issues. And where does it go next?
Where does it go next? You know, I'm not a seer, but in my view, we're going towards martial law and complete totalitarian.
You believe that,
yeah, I believe we're going into complete totalitarian government. I believe that the American people have lost their way. We've lost our freedoms. America, I call the movie Freedom to Fascism because the definition of fascism,
a corporate state,
is big government and big corporations working together to suppress and stifle the people.
Mussolini's corporate state.
Right, exactly. And that's what we have in America today. We have a fascist government here.
I'm frightened because of the multinationals.
Well, you should be frightened because these people are controlling our lives. You know, we're no longer in charge of our own lives. Everything we do today is done by. It's like believing in a sense that America from the beginning was supposed to be a democracy. You keep hearing
it's a republic.
Of course, it's a republic. Sure. It's a constitutional republic.
Absolutely.
Right? And if you ask 100 people on the street, what form of government is America supposed to be?
We have a democracy.
98% will tell you it's a democracy.
It's not.
And they don't get this. A democracy, 51% control 49%. It's tyranny of the majority. I wouldn't want to be part of the 49%. In our constitutional republic, 99% of the people couldn't take away the rights of 1%. You have rights because you were born. You had God-given human rights. They're your rights.
Intrinsic rights as a citizen.
Intrinsic rights. And the government can't take them away as if they're a privilege.
Where did this... I mean, I've looked at your career since you were on a radio show. I mean, you got this remarkable career in show business. A lot of stuff was coming your way.
Yes.
What happened?
What do you mean? What?
No. I mean, why did you become... I mean, I'm serious question. Was there a series of events or an issue that happened and you went, what am I watching here?
You mean why did I get political?